Kaohsiung first, and then Tainan yesterday. And then today we will be doing a mini symposium where we have a chance to exchange some thoughts and views on publicness and pedagogy, which will be our theme and title today. I'd like to briefly introduce our panelists. From Hong Kong University, we have 5 now. Miho Hirabayashi, David McGuinness, Jonathan Yo, and Joe Lee. Welcome. Collectively, they are the studio instructors for the 3rd year and have been working on a very special, very unique typology as part of your student work, many of which are being exhibited upstairs. From the NCKU side, we have Professor Shrek, Kay Yanagawa, and Lepoe, and Sabrina, and then myself, and we. Sorry. But most importantly, we have Patrick Wong, who will be the moderator for today. Just a note on time. We expect to hit pause at around 1:30 or 1:45 to continue our discussion upstairs at the exhibition, where both works from both HKU and NCKU exhibited. But as a note on time, we have to end by around 4 because the HKU group would have to then proceed to Taipei in the evening. So so before we begin, I'd like to invite Professor Xue and Professor Fai to say a few words. Let's begin with Professor Xue.
Thank you, Min, and welcome everybody, and professors from Hong Kong U and professors from our side, and all the students and teachers here. Welcome to NCKU and our architecture. And we are very honored and happy to have you here, and happy to see the interaction or any kind of interaction and events and going through this kind of format. And I think it's kind of informal, but and also we can get the deeper understanding of each other's pedagogy through the students' project. So I would like to say thank you very much, and I hope in the future we have more opportunity to do something like this more. Thank you.
Hello everyone. First of all, thank you, Professor Xue, and also all the faculty members here to have a really good, this morning have a really good opportunity for us to look around the campus with this rich history and also a lot of different stories. I think we enjoyed it very much. But from the beginning, I think it's about, when we have a decision to go to Taiwan for a field trip, then I started to think about Patrick, which is originally teaching in Hong Kong. So I sort of get a connection. And then Ying also is friend with a lot of the faculty members here. So we are very grateful that we have this connection, and this is happening. And thank you for this, and thank you for allowing us to also bring our models, MSB, from MSB models from Hong Kong to here that you guys are going to see upstairs. And hopefully later, after everyone getting back their energy from the lunch, we will have even more discussion among all the student groups. And we look forward, because even for year 3, we also have the program that's the public buildings program. That's very much similar to the MSB that's in Hong Kong, although MSB's program is kind of unique. So we can have a bit of discussion later. Anyhow, thank you for, let's start.
Okay, hello, my name is Patrick Wong. So I was given the student assignment to be the moderator today, and so I have to do a little bit of preparation. But I think before we start, maybe it's a good idea to establish some of the kind of common ground between the two institutes, two universities. On the university level, common ground is the year 3 studio. That both sides are tackling this issue of the way the public buildings, therefore the title of publicness, or the role of architecture in addressing that topic. But since we're all teachers of architecture, so we thought that the other half is this word that we use sometimes, pedagogy, which really means the methods and the practice of teaching. So on one hand, there's the role of the public building in dealing with public life, and then on the other hand, us as let's say teachers of architecture in creating a let's say platform, kind of curriculum or design brief that would enable the students to think about ways in which public life could be, let's say, react to by architecture. So that's kind of the big overall idea for today's conversation. I think it would be nice, right, if the students can also participate. I know our students are quite vocal sometimes, so please use this opportunity to engage. And I thought it was kind of interesting in the sense that the late S.E. Banyasat, which is a refined architecture educator, used to tell us that the difference between a house and an opera house really not that different in terms of the fundamentals. But one thing that is maybe different is the degree of publicness that architecture has to consider between a house and a house. So I think with that framing, maybe I will invite both sides, the coordinators or the teachers, to maybe first to share your views on the role of the public building, right, or the role of architecture in the public realm. And then we'll go on to the teaching aspect. So, is there a particular character that the public building has to possess? So maybe we start from the architectural side and then we go to the teaching of that aspect. I don't know if that is clear, but maybe that's a beginning that we can start from. So, anybody?
Should we? So then maybe we can do it in so those as comments about
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, maybe I will just do a very brief introduction of our Year 3 program. Maybe I can also start with a little bit of from Year 1. That's very Year 1 basically for us now the theme is rooms in the city. And then the second year it moved up the scale to whole house. Third year, we used to call it a public house. So you mentioned about the house. Of course, a house is very much different from a public building that you have this activities, but also the kind of ownership, kind of conflicts, etc. So Year 3 is at the stage of building up this complexity through the curriculum. And in Year 4, we then we go to housing. It's another level of housing. So for Year 3 here, we are running in 2 semesters, but not as a 1-year project, but rather semester 1 as a more prototypical studio that we do not have a specific size, but with kind of a particular approach. Last year, we are choosing structure as a driver, that every studio is looking at a particular building volume, what kind of structure that will drive the design of a multi-story building. That publicness is not sort of in the very specific sense coming with the equation yet. So that is much more specific about sites and also program. In our case here is the MSB, which is the Municipal Services Building, 市政大厦. That is something unique. Maybe later on our colleagues even also can explain more about the history of the MSB. But it's a very unique program in Hong Kong. Basically, it's a vertical stack of very diverse programs, including culture center, wet market, dry market, library. Some have the theaters as well, administration offices, sports center. So this is a really complex mix and also a really sort of high density of this public programs all coming together. So that is the challenge for our semester. It's later on we're going to see much more examples.
Okay, so from our side, I don't want to talk too much about this program itself because I think we had a discussion last night over dinner, and I don't know how important it is for the students to know what's about what's happening there. But again, in short, what we're trying to do for our third-year program is emphasize project-based learning, right? So that's why we're doing a year-long study and then learning in a more kind of holistic way. I would like to talk a little bit of the project selection and the project that we're working on. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Qimei Museum in Tainan. It's a kind of unusual building in this location. I mean, it's like a somewhat classically oriented architecture, and one of the things I always think is the most important role for an architect is kind of undermining the client, right? I think in the first year and the second year education, you're kind of always focused on what are the client needs and how are how do you design for that. But I think once you get to talking about public work, right, work that's going to impact the city and have a more kind of lasting effect on society in general, I think your priorities need to change, right? And so I think that idea of undermining the client is really important, right? So what does that mean? I mean, I think that doesn't mean that what I want the students to do in this case is to, impose their own idea only, but I think it's to think about more than just the requirements of the project and the program. Right? Extend their kind of creative process to think more about, well, where is this project and how is this project going to work and serve the community, well into the future, right? Most of the projects that, kind of these big public projects, they, from initial proposal until final construction, maybe 10 years, a decade, right? And in a decade, a lot of things are already changing, right? So how do you design for the public with the intent that it's going to serve for 50 to 100 years later, right? And particularly with this Qimei project, I think the original building was built, I think, something like 15 years ago, and it was built in a very top-down way. Like the company president had this idea about what they wanted, and they just did it. And the architect that they were working with was basically did whatever the client asked. Right? They created this it's kind of iconic building, but in a way it's very unfriendly to the people that are using it. So the emphasis for us in this studio then was to ask the students, well, knowing that architecture has such a long timeline, knowing that the emphasis is about public space, right? I think one of the most important things was to encourage the students to think about that space as something that will serve them in the future, rather than focusing again on the client needs. As a way to avoid that same issue, then I think it was quite successful. I was quite happy with what I saw the students doing, and I think some of the projects that were showing up there will represent their thinking, and in a way, it's more to the core
want to use that space. When when we're 30 years later, when we're adults, when we have kids, in that situation. Because I think that is in fact the goal of all architects, is to plan well into the future for how that space will be used. And a lot of time that goes against what the client is asking you to do now, because their interests are much more short-term.
We have with us Professor Wan Zhen, who is maybe slightly late, but then Wan Zhen is instrumental in the tour for Hku Group, because 2 days ago she led the tour to Wimby and a few other major public buildings in Russia. So yes, she made this in the middle. And so, yes, sorry for the interruption, and then I think we can hand it back to you.
Well, maybe as a way to extend Ken's application in terms of planning for the future, for flexibility. If I were to use that premise to ask a question about municipal services, which is a very unique building type, but my understanding is that some programs, especially the markets, ground level,